The media tells us to budget better, skip the avocado toast. The World Economic Forum advises us to own nothing for us to get ahead. They're all wrong. Since 1984, U.S. median household income almost quadrupled. In a vacuum, this is great. The issues come when you consider inflation and how the cost of living has wrecked everything. Whether you use the PCE metric or the CPI metric for inflation, the result is the same. Your dollar is worth close to a third of what it was in 1994. And costs, they skyrocketed, often doubling, tripling, quadrupling, or worse than some of the most important spend categories of today. For healthcare, its share of household budgets is almost up by 58% since 1990 alone. The cost of a college education at a public university is up over 700% since 1984. Housing is up over 400% since 1984. And rent is up over 300% since 1984. That's the crunch. That's why groceries hurt. Your bank account was beat up before you even got to buy your food. It's where many get lost in this conversation. No one cares we have cell phones or streaming services when housing costs quadrupled. Random trinkets and nifty tools have never mattered that much to people in the grand scheme of things. No, what matters and has always mattered to people are the cost of living and the cost of a better future. McDonald's can bring back the dollar menu. It won't matter if the cost in your budget that you can't or won't cut out take all the rest of your money or more. So what broke the link between wages and affordability? Well, we don't have to overcomplicate this. Prices are rising faster than what people are paid. It's that simple. A large part of this is due to something called labor arbitrage, or the practice of searching for and then using the lowest cost workforce to produce products or goods. As global trade expanded, it became cheaper for companies to move operations overseas where labor is cheaper. This offshoring is actively killing domestic wages because it provides an endless supply of cheap labor that drives down the value of your labor. The issue of labor arbitrage seems to be only getting worse as AI and robotics get cheap enough to enter the equation. So let's look at the true cost of this cheap labor strategy. Nearly 5 million manufacturing jobs and more than 91,000 plants have been lost in the United States since 1997. And that's just a direct loss. When a big factory leaves, the local businesses that fed off the factory's economic output go with it as they suffer from the lack of income those factory workers had. More recently, businesses have been trying to outsource all manner of office work to cheaper labor overseas. All this creates a ripple effect where one company's decision to move abroad guts entire local economies. Understanding that hauling out in the area's demand for labor has its end as its economic ruin. Here's the truth, and I hate it. If work can be done from anywhere, it's already leaving to find the cheapest labor out there, or it will eventually. We need to focus on what happens here to solve all this. Now, there are two options to fix the affordability crisis: raise people's pay or lower costs. Lowering costs the right way through productivity and not by gutting all the regulations that protects us can take decades. Raising wages can happen faster, and since I've already done work on raising people's pay due to previous versions of this script, that's what we're running with. So here's how we fix it. 3 steps, all doable, all domestic. The solution. Step 1. The instant pay raise. Cut payroll taxes for workers. Right now, workers pay 7.65% of every paycheck in payroll or FICA taxes before they ever receive a dime of it. That's Social Security and Medicare taxes coming straight out of your pay. For someone making $50,000 a year, that's an extra $3,825 a year. So we eliminate that tax for everyone making under something around $80,000 a year and allocate it somewhere higher up the food chain. They can balk and say our retirement isn't on them, but this isn't an investment in our retirement. It's an investment in future stability for society. Immediately, workers would keep more of what they earn. That's an immediate 7.65% raise, day one, plain and simple. Step 2. Make employee ownership irresistible. Here's where we start fixing the long-term problem. We use the tax code to make employee ownership the smartest financial decision a company can make. For public companies, grant your non-executive workers stock worth a percentage of their total compensation. You get that same percentage taken off your tax bill. Imagine all your workers get stocks equal to 20% of their compensation. Your tax bill in turn drops by 20%. So if your corporate tax bill would be $1 million and you grant 20% stock ownership to your workers, your new tax bill is $800,000. The idea is to make granting stock to employees a good financial decision. For private companies, use the same idea, but but for profit sharing. Distribute a percentage of net profits to non-executive employees and your tax bill drops in proportion. The beauty of this is it doesn't saddle businesses with more costly regulation. We're just incentivizing sharing the good times with the workers who made it possible. Companies can still choose to hoard everything at the top if their CEOs wish to play king instead of serve the interests of the company, but they'll pay more in taxes and lost talent for that choice. For any small business owners fretting at the thought of the government bungling this and killing your business, breathe. I am aware many of you out there are already struggling. Part of the next step helps these businesses specifically. Step 3. Remove barriers to small business. Since labor arbitrage is killing our economy, the simple answer is to get enough businesses started and going that it doesn't matter so much when one fires all their workers. To be clear, we need more businesses competing for workers. 2 simple changes make this possible. First, businesses under $1 million in yearly revenue pay nothing in taxes. Let them keep every dollar to grow, hire, and compete. As they succeed and grow past that threshold, taxes should phase in progressively to match their size. Second, create a public health care option for business owners. Own an active business under some small revenue threshold, and you and your family can buy into a government-administered health plan at cost. Suddenly, entrepreneurship doesn't mean choosing between your dream and your family's health coverage. More businesses mean more competition for workers. When employers compete for you instead of you competing for scraps, wages go up naturally. I know some of you think this will be expensive to do. It won't. We don't need to invent new tax revenue, we need to shift who pays. Right now, our tax code is built to favor the wealthy and big corporations. Some hugely profitable Fortune 500 companies pay very little in federal taxes. Billionaires pay lower effective rates than those whose money comes from income from their job. The current system is designed to let the big guys skate while the little guy gets squeezed. So we flip it. We rewrite the tax code to favor workers and small businesses instead. The tax increases don't hit small and medium-sized enterprises. We're going after the Fortune 500 size corporations, not Joe's Pizza down the road. Just for starters, here's some funding ideas for all this. Imagine with me. First, we raised the maximum corporate tax rate from 21% to 27% to try and offset all the tax breaks they abuse. Second, we tax stock buybacks at 100%. Companies spend nearly $1 trillion a year buying their own stock instead of investing in operations for their employees. Stock buybacks are market manipulation dressed up as shareholder returns. If they want to return money to shareholders, they can pay dividends and invest in ways to make more profit and drive up the company's share price the old-fashioned way. Third, we close the loopholes that let mega corporations pay nothing in taxes year after year. We make sure companies that make billions in revenue every year actually contribute instead of only using our national resources. Whatever gap remains in funding this is likely to be made up for by taxes on the increased consumption due to the increase in everyone's bank accounts. Now look, I'm not the Congressional Budget Office. The exact numbers need real analysis before any government tries all this. Don't get stuck on percentages. Focus on the mechanisms I'm describing. The money is already there in the economy. It's just going in the wrong direction. The government takes in plenty of money every year. We just have to shift who is footing the bill and where that money is going. We shift the tax burden from workers to capital and actually enforce it. Make the largest corporations pay what they owe instead of acting like they never turn a profit. It's that simple. So that's the money. Now let me tell you why this actually works, not just on paper but in reality. You start by giving workers immediate relief, keep more of your paycheck right now. Then you give workers profit sharing or stocks. Then you create conditions for more businesses to compete for workers, so employers have to offer better pay and conditions. Think about what this means in practice. A worker making $40,000 a year suddenly keeps an extra $3,060 from the payroll tax shift. That's a car payment. That's rent. That's the difference between one emergency away from being broke and having a buffer. Over 5 years, adding company stock or profit sharing, and that's life-changing money. And if someone is entrepreneurial, they no longer have health insurance handcuffs from their job that prevent them from starting their own business. The little guy in the business world might just win under these conditions. Now, some of you are shaking your head at all this tax talk. You're missing a part of the puzzle here. Through our current system, we are paying the rich to stay rich at the expense of the poor. We already subsidize low wages through welfare programs. When businesses pay poverty wages and their employees need food stamps and Medicaid to survive, We are paying the difference. We're subsidizing corporate payrolls through welfare programs for the poor, while workers stay poor and shareholders get richer. They get a fat bonus for hooking the government for the bill of what they aren't paying their employees. Economists estimate that taxpayers subsidize low-wage corporate employers to the tune of $153 billion a year through welfare programs. We're already spending this money. We're just letting corporations pocket the difference while keeping workers dependent on government assistance. What I'm proposing redirects how resources flow. Instead of subsidizing poverty wages through welfare, we use tax policy to make it profitable for companies to share ownership and wealth directly while we make it easier to start and run a business. Now let's address the inflation concern. Are we printing money by doing all this? No. The payroll shift is revenue neutral. Ownership incentives are funded by tax code changes. We're redistributing existing money, not creating new money. That's not inflation. But let's assume for a second that this does cause some inflation. Here's the thing. The Federal Reserve already controls inflation by adjusting the monetary supply. If any of this creates any inflationary pressure, the Fed can tighten policy to compensate. Now, some will say if we raise corporate taxes and push employee ownership, companies will just offshore more jobs. This line of thinking is looking at things wrong. Taxes aren't killing jobs. Labor costs are. Without productivity gains to offset the cost savings of offshoring, we can't stop jobs from leaving. Now, the solution to the offshoring problem is to free people up to start their own business. That's where the healthcare part comes in, to free people from their jobs so they can fulfill needs in the economy they otherwise couldn't. And yes, there is no free lunch. Every single one of these steps has a real cost. The corporate tax increase will face massive lobbying pushback. The stock buyback tax will be called anti-business by those profiting from it. Employee ownership will require regulation to make sure companies don't just cut base wages to compensate. And the government will need more funding to actually chase down and collect the taxes owed. The small business tax exemption will need rules preventing giant corporations from gaming the system by spinning off departments as companies they own. And the healthcare public option will need proper funding and administration. You pick your poison. But here's the reality. If we don't do something, political pressure will eventually force a change anyway. And that change will be a lot more draconian to big money than what I'm describing here. The World Economic Forum wants you to own nothing and rent everything, calling it efficiency. I'm saying you should own more. You should own a piece of what you build. You work, you contribute, you should benefit when the company succeeds. Right now, every dollar that could go to workers but goes to shareholders and owners instead is a choice we make as a society. We've been turning that dial towards capital for decades. If we can't start pushing it back toward labor, people stay broke, and eventually political pressure will force a change anyway. That or people will simply move to areas and nations with better opportunities, draining our talent and future. Ignoring the system long enough, and it stops offering choices and starts producing consequences. We can do this. The money exists. The mechanisms exist. All that's missing is the political will, and that comes from people like you demanding it. So if this resonates, share it, talk about it, make noise, because moderate reform now beats desperate chaos later, and we're running out of time to choose which path we take. You can own nothing and be happier, or own what you build and be free. Some are betting you'll choose the profit disguised as your happiness. I'm telling you that we can all be free if we simply choose to work for it. Thanks for watching.